Hey everyone, and welcome to another YouTube recording with Bluebird Leaders, and this time with our dear friends at Extrico. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. So Kevin, I'll let you go first. Tell us what you do at Extrico and how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. So happy to be here. More happy to be sporting my Bluebird Leaders pin today as the ally representative. I'm Kevin Leday. I'm COO, Extrico Health. Been in healthcare for 30 plus years, the last 17 or so in the healthcare IT space. And was actually at Premier. Many folks probably on this call know who Premier was or is, but I found these guys through a mutual friend who had invested early in the company, and what they were doing was so dramatically different than anything that I had seen. I was immediately attracted to it, and just had some discussions from a consulting type arrangement with these gentlemen, and then couldn't say no to joining the company, and couldn't be more excited to be here today. Number one, to share some of the amazing people that we've connected with through this group, and also maybe some of the stuff that we're doing to transform and do some disruption in healthcare IT at Extrico.
I love it. I love it. Jody, we go way back, but why don't you tell everybody who you are and how you got to Extrico?
Great, we do go way back. I love that. My name is Jody Fry. I am the Director of Implementation at Extrico Health. The way I got here was quite a journey. I've been in healthcare leadership roles for over 35 years now, and healthcare IT over the last 20 plus years. I've worked in different environments and different roles. I've worked in the hospital environment, the accountable care environment, in roles that really leverage my clinical and technical skill sets. I'm a physical therapist by trade and my master's in IT, and feel very passionate about the value of healthcare IT, especially in today's healthcare environment. So I found Extrico Health through a couple of different means. One being Bluebird Leaders. We had a networking event, and Kevin and I were actually able to reconnect. We have a little bit of history going back in our IT days at one of the networking dinners that Rebecca hosted in Massachusetts. Also, there was another leader that Joel Benware, who I worked with for many years. And he connected me as well with Kevin, knowing that Extrico Health had a need for an individual similar to those traits that I'm able to provide to the company. So really glad to be a part of this super progressive company with some amazing staff.
What I love is that I know Extrico is in growth mode, being a startup, and they're moving very fast, but you are so detail oriented that you will be able to put them in their pause and check off that box and say, wait, this is a meaningful wait, and this is why, and we need to make sure we check all this off. That you will do for them in such a positive way, so I'm excited. Maureen Nyland, she's also our Chief Volunteer Officer over at Bluebird. Now you're over at Extrico. Week 1 or week 2? Is this week 2?
It's the second week. So basically, I'm poised to take over the company next week. I'm fairly certain, right?
You're sure. You're not a millennial, so you don't think that way. So tell us what you're doing with Extrico.
No, not at all. I am the VP of Client Success. So thrilled to be joining both Jody and Kevin. How I found Extrico, no surprise, is through Bluebird Leaders. And this was an introduction that Rebecca made to me, to Kevin. And I just got to say, like, from the moment that we had our first initial conversation, I just felt like, wow, this is a really fantastic company. And I'll be honest with you, for anybody that's listening, when Rebecca sent me, hey, there's this cool role that's out there, maybe you might be interested in it, I looked at it and I went, oh, it's revenue cycle based. And as a nurse by background, revenue cycle and nursing doesn't necessarily like lend well to one another. So I was like, oh, that's nice, but that's not very super sexy. And it was really the process of the conversation and diving down deep into what Extrico really is that totally changed my perspective, because it is a solution that actually works, first of all, but it doesn't require that clinicians have to go through 14 non-meaningful steps to be able to achieve success. And so all of those things just kind of fell into place. So I went from being like, oh, I'm not so sure that this is what really is meant to be, to seeing very clearly, this is exactly where I'm meant to be.
Let's step a little further back though, Maureen. You left an organization that was not meeting your needs, and you took a huge pause and stopped work for a while.
I did.
Built more gardens.
Yes.
And I know that you washed your rugs a few times and cleaned up the houses. We talk a lot, if anybody can't tell. And you walked me off the ledge and helped me build up Bluebird all that during that time. And then you finally met a company that met your culture. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. I was thinking about this morning. 2 years ago, at the first SOAR that I attended, I was having this really great conversation with Dave Haight on the way back from one of the events that we had closed out. And I remember that he asked me, what is it that you do? And I've told this story before, but I turned to Dave, and my mind and my mouth, they just betrayed me. And I said, doesn't matter what I'm doing now, because that's not what I'm going to be doing next year. And he said, well, what is it that you really want to do? And I said, I want to work with really good people. That is what I want. And yeah, I was encouraged by my Nest besties to make a leap of faith, to go ahead and let go of the things that weren't serving me any longer, and allow the universe to step in with the things that I really needed. And I did that. It was so freeing and so fascinating, because the day that I made that decision, Rebecca called me an hour later and said, when are you quitting your job? And I said, are you channeling Don Whitney right now? Because I just decided an hour ago that I was done. And I've never looked back. Although there are times that I questioned, like, did I make the right decision? But I knew that I needed to work with people that, like Kevin and Jody, that wanted to be collaborative, that really wanted to be inspired by the work that they were doing, that really felt like we can change healthcare, and it doesn't have to wait for some dramatic thing to happen at a governmental or policy level, that we can do it right here where we're at. And that's what's just so amazing. So happy that I blew my life up.
I like watching from the sidelines and now seeing you on the other side. It's awesome. Kevin, tell us what Extrico actually does. What, you have all this great culture, all these great people working for you. Okay, so now how are you changing healthcare? What do you guys do?
It's a long story, Rebecca, and we're going to condense this as best we can. So fundamentally, Extrico Health is a healthcare analytics company. When I was evaluating the opportunity, I looked at it and I was telling the founders, the clinician founders, there's 1,000 of us out there. So we've got what's the difference? Why are we different? Yeah. And as I started to dive in to understand, being clinician built was a huge separator for us from all of the other amazing technology. There's just some amazing technology. We're flush with amazing technology, with a bunch of buzzwords that are out there. Very few are clinician built, with number one, the patient at the center, but number two, with a clinician focus. How do we empower the clinician's workflow to be more efficient? So it's not a burden. Healthcare IT has been a burden on clinicians, still is a burden on clinician workflow. And this company viewed it very differently. So fast forward, what do we do? From an analytics perspective, we infuse all of the clinical knowledge that clinicians hold into all of the queries that we ask of the big data sets. So instead of having to go ask a singular question of an IT analyst to hopefully they understand what you're trying to ask, and then a month later they give you a report back, we're actually infusing the clinical knowledge in what we call phenotypes, groups of clinical information that we embed against the data to surface all the insights that are hidden in the EHRs. The fundamental problem, Rebecca, this group knows, and this entire audience probably knows, the fundamental problem is there's simply too much data. There is too much patient data not normalized patient data that exist on every patient and every encounter in a hospital. So if you want to go find out the condition or a previous condition of your patient, likely you're going to miss, and studies show you're probably missing about 30% of the data that sits in there. You just physically can't go through that data. So by infusing the clinical knowledge into our analytics platform, we're able to really efficiently go surface the hidden insights that others have failed at in the past. The other piece to it, it's a broad offering, right? Healthcare analytics encompasses a lot. So how do you go to market as a startup with a young company and extreme superstars? How do you go to market and get somebody's attention? We've got 50 plus peer-reviewed papers that are out in the literature, which I would argue that a lot of very, very mature healthcare analytics company can't even scratch 50 plus peer-reviewed papers built upon the platform. In one of those papers, we surfaced this revenue cycle piece that Maureen had mentioned earlier, and that is the ability to surface up missed CCs and MCCs in a patient record, which equates to dollars for hospitals. More importantly for us who are passionate about quality of care, it impacts the quality scoring and the quality of that patient and the next time that patient visits. But the reality is our folks in the revenue cycle, they're doing an amazing job. They're getting it right the vast majority of the time, but they're still missing 2 to 3% of these critical CCs and MCCs. That represents millions of dollars a year for an average size hospital. So our tip of the spear that we're going at as a market entry and our risk profile to come in at risk. We're not charging anything to do this. We want our hospitals, as Maureen said, to be successful. We want our clinicians to be successful. So we're going to put our money where our mouth is and come in at risk and say, we're confident we're going to be able to find you X millions of dollars. We will run our analytics and let's see what we can do together, and we're going to build trust. The platform with the 50 plus peer-reviewed papers is so much bigger. But if we can build the trust and go get some wins in this crazy economic environment that we're in, then we have the ability to go show what else we can do. And it's transformative what we can do, but we have to start somewhere where the pain is, and the pain is so clear today.
I love it. I love it. Jody, what does implementation look like for this particular, you're overseeing implementation. What was it like when you came in and started? I know you've been a few months in, and what have you been able to transform, and what does it look like today? Is it a huge burden on my IT department that, can't take on one more thing? What is it like?
110% not. Not. And that was our founder's goal, really, is to create a software, create a product that would be low effort on behalf of the client, because we know, all of us in this room know what implementations have looked like in the past, albeit it was for, EHRs, but we would be, I remember 12, 16-month implementations, even upgrades. And with our product, we have a much shorter turnaround time for full implementation. We are expanding out the EHRs that we work with. So we have some new Meditech hospitals. We work with Epic hospitals. So each implementation at this point in time looks a little different, but the team, when I started with this team in late July, they had a cadence. They understood what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. A lot of the lift on behalf of the client really happens at the beginning and the end of the cycle. We maintain connection and communication largely through Maureen's role as VP of Client Success. We want to walk them through this whole process. We want to establish that trust and transparency that Kevin referred to as well. So there are connection points that we have with the client throughout the process. We may have some clarifying questions as we kind of dig into the tables and the data to understand the client's workflow. But really, we work with the client early on. We get the kind of the server set up in place, and then we transform the data. We have access to tables from within the EHR. We transform the data into Extrico tables, and from there we apply these phenotypes that Kevin is talking about. So phenotypes really focus in on specific chronic conditions. And our clinical team, they scour the evidence, they scour best practices, and they look not, I always think about what differentiates our product from other similar products. And what I found is that the way that that our product was built and developed on, using these phenotypes is that we are looking for a combination of data elements to happen sequentially or at the same time. So we're looking at a variety of data elements. We're not necessarily scouring the record to look for one or two data elements that might signify a missed CC or a missed MCC. We are looking for a very specific clinical course. And so I think that provides greater reliability of the data when we present that at the end of the game to the client. And hopefully that's something that they will act upon and not only achieve financial benefits, but also quality benefits. We think about some of the CCs and MCCs that may have been missed because there may have been gaps in documentation. And as you fill those documentation gaps, you're going to have a more thorough, accurate, comprehensive medical record for the next time that patient shows up at primary care or, say, the emergency department. What have I really instituted or impacted since I've been here? As I mentioned, the team, they knew the process, but there were questions around handoffs, and we want to achieve standardization. We know that there is a level of customization based on each client, but what I've been able to do is really query our whole team and develop swim lane diagrams, develop, a project map, if you will, the life cycle of the cross-functional implementation. And so we are really kind of reaping the benefits of that right now. It's an evolving, living, breathing document, but that visualization of process and then translating that to, a project management tool where we can stay on top of and track our milestones and achievements.
Awesome. What are you doing after you find all these missing figures to help educate the providers or educate the executive teams at the organization so that it stops, right? I mean, I'm sure you don't want it to stop because it's your revenue, but I'm sure you want to help the hospitals get better too. So what are you doing to help them out?
Rebecca, what a great question. I'm going to conflict your statement just a little bit and say that, what it is about the revenue, but that's not what we're passionate about. We're truly passionate about the quality of care that's on the back end of this thing. Your point is very salient because there's been so many promises made in the market and very few promises kept when somebody comes in and say, we're going to provide you dashboards, we're going to change patient care, we're going to change your workflow. And there's just been so many disconnects there. Our process, and this kind of hits the revenue and that quality piece, is our process is let's go get some wins early. Let's go show you this massive amount of revenue that is threatening to your P&L today and get some of these wins. All the while, we're building up evidence in there and a bunch of data in this environment that's going to allow us to go in and actually show some of the data to the physicians. You can't walk into a physician office and say, you missed this, and this is what we're going to do about it. You can walk in there with 6 months worth of evidence that shows this is the impact that your department has had. And here's how we can improve. And here's the metrics that we can improve upon. So we look at this as more of a marathon than a sprint. We want to go get some wins and gain trust. We want to build data so that we can empower those physicians. And then we want to go change how they're doing it so they don't miss it in the first place. And so if that disappears our revenue or shrinks our revenue over time, so be it, we win because we've got these other analytics that we want to be able to expose to them. So not necessarily concerned about that long tail of the revenue.
Right. And honestly, once you clean up the, top 10 or whatever, there's going to be other findings there. There always will be, and things are changing. But I had to poke at that bear, right? Because it's out there. What I love that you said, Kevin, and Maureen, you can comment, you know me enough to know that I work with a lot of companies, and a lot of them are in it for the sprint, and I find it very difficult that it's a
Yes.
marathon, not a sprint, like you said, Kevin. So it's really nice to hear that you're in it for the healthcare organizations to help them out. Maureen, as the Chief Customer or VP of
Yeah.
Customer Success, how are you going to lean into that and help them expand and get better, and then work with Jody, right? You guys are a full
Yeah.
circle
All
team
for
there.
growth. Yes. Well, at the end of the day, let's just reemphasize that the what we're achieving isn't because somebody didn't do something right. There is so much right that is happening within these organizations. And the fact that they are having the level of success that they are is almost mind-boggling to me. Because as Kevin has stated, there's just so much data that's
Mm.
out there. And trying to surface everything that's relevant isn't possible. And I think the other piece too, and someone said it well in the company meeting yesterday, they said they've already done the great work. You've already cared for the patient. The patient received the right type of care. You just didn't get the chance to take full credit for the job that you
Yeah.
did. And so being able to just normalize that in our conversations, that these organizations are really, really busy. But what we're wanting to do is come in there, be another tool in their toolbox, because at the end of the day, we want you to keep your doors open. If you close your doors, patients don't have access to care, and this we can't afford to keep this awful situation that we're in place and expect that somehow things are going to get better on their
Mhm.
own. And access to care has always been such a concern, but now with the funding constrictions, I think we're just going to continue to find that more and more. So yes, as I said before, nursing in and of itself, we don't get super excited about the dollars. We seem to always be focused on the patient, and that's important, but two things can be true at once. We do need to focus on the dollars, because if we don't, we can't be there for our patients. So just being able to normalize the conversations and also reiterate that it is a business, but it's the business of taking care of people.
I love it. Of course, you have some amazing comment always that just kind of like slides out of your mouth. I just don't even know how you do it every time.
Aw.
Um, Kevin, what's the leadership structure at Extrico? Do you want to speak about how there's lots of women that are supporting you?
So
I'll call it out.
I think we had, I think what it was a month or two ago, we had a group text chat going in. I shared that I believe our makeup is 70 plus, maybe 74% female right now. Um, this is not by design, it's by talent. We have both Ira, our founder, and myself, we have this really unique possibility right now to build an organizational culture that we've all strived for, we've all hoped for, but never necessarily had the opportunity to do. From a leader perspective, we want our employees to be bold. We want them to be courageous. We want them to share ideas, and more importantly, we want them to have the power to act on those ideas. So, from a leadership perspective, I've looked at who can collaborate, who's bold, who's brave, and who's courageous to go out and do these things that it's going to take. I mean, we've got a hard task in front of us to go do the impossible and try to make the impossible inevitable. Um, but what I've located, and we've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of folks for each of these roles, and whose surface to the top are, number one, a couple of these magnificent Bluebird leaders. We've got more Bluebird leaders on the team out there, but it just so happens that, that where we are, we've got a 70% female market makeup. I'll continue that from here till the cows come home. However, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it from a talent-based,
Mhm.
courageous, bold individual that's willing to speak their mind and who's not scared to go out there and make some tough decisions and challenge the status quo, because if we don't, 5 years from now we're going to be having the same conversation, and that's not what our goal is.
Yeah, I love that you're focused on hiring the right people, in it for the marathon. I mean, those are the true startups that look at the bigger picture and are able to focus and move forward, and they're the ones that end up being successful, right? I mean, my board chair is a great example, female CEO of a MSP, and they're all about their culture, and they're skyrocketing to become one of the top MSPs in the industry, and so same thing for you all, right? um, Jody, what's one more thing that just excites you about Extrico, that you're excited about in the next year to come in 2026, that you'd like to tell everybody?
I'm excited about the growth, the growth of our team, the growth of our market, the impact that we can make. And I'm excited to go through this evolution with the leadership and the team that exists today, knowing that that's going to grow. But I'm really excited because I feel like as a collective and as an individual, I'm making an impact. Like in this organization, I can be my true, authentic self. We talk about that a lot at Bluebird Leaders. And I feel that in this organization, surrounded by this group of people, I can bring it. And we're going to achieve great things, and we're going to do that in partnership with our clients. And I think that they'll see that and hopefully get excited themselves and spread the word.
I love it. Maureen, how about you? You're 2 weeks in, 2026 around the corner.
I know.
What do you want to accomplish with your, first year at Extrico?
Oh gosh. Okay. I think I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Jody because I love what you say. And at the end of the day, we're just going to build on not just delivering the solution, but delivering the value of the solution. So I am most excited about seeing those big numbers where they're able to get some additional revenue back into their health systems. That makes me excited for them. And more importantly, it makes me excited for all of the quality that can be improved, and the patients can truly have great impact. Not to mention the fact, again, it's technology that works, that the clinician doesn't have to do 14 extra clicks in order to get the value out of it. So I'm all about the growth, but let's actually deliver some value back and let's blow their minds. That's my feeling. Let's blow their minds with all that we can accomplish for them.
I love it. Kevin, how about you? COO of a growing startup. What's some goals for 2026?
This is not easy. What we're doing, it's not easy by any stretch of the imaginations, but we fundamentally believe that patients and clinicians deserve better. So we're going to go out in 2026 and we're going to show folks that the impossible is doable. We're already seeing that traction in the marketplace right now. We view 2026 as a real pivotal point in our evolution, due to a lot of the things that Maureen said, which is we are in a weird and crazy and uncomfortable financial situation in healthcare today, and every dollar counts. If we rewind this, some of our huge wins of customers that we're working with today, these are massive, well-known academic institutions. Their doors stay open because they're well funded.
Right.
There are thousands of community facilities and smaller hospitals in the United States who are struggling day to day, number one, to make payroll and eventually to just make rent and keep the doors open. And 2026 is our chance to go have a positive impact on that. So for our overarching 2026 goal is to do the impossible and go, let's make this happen. And with this team, I'm so proud of this team. We're going to do it. I've got no reservations about that whatsoever.
I love it. I can't wait to watch you all soar in 2026 and be a part of some of our events that Extrico will be out there. So thank you all for joining us on our YouTube channel, and we hope you have a good week.